No, that's a great point. Now, I would like to change the stage. I know we have room for questions and discussion point, but if it's possible that we have mics around, so we're gonna, a couple of minutes, we're gonna open it for discussion. But before moving to the discussion side and questions, so if we could we need to understand the business and the services and the team, manage the team, and put the services and all those businesses in place in order to transform. Now, is it possible to give an example of something went wrong, even if you have the objective, but didn't do well, and there is a major loss in businesses? Because we would like to be transformed, but sometimes we didn't do it right. So can we have an example as such? Nigel, would you be?
Yeah, so there's this will be the subject of a book one day, because it's sometimes when you go into this in the early phases of these changes, you don't fully understand the landscape that you're operating in. And there's an example of a UK bank that produced one of the first peer-to-peer mobile payment applications. And the idea very simply was that if you were a consumer of a service of this bank and the person you were talking to was the same, you could use an application to effectively transfer funds within the constraints of that bank. To do this, the bank set aside a team of pioneers who created an application. They created a user experience. They took elements of this bank's business process and they put it into code. And they let that code loose in the App Store. User adoption was strong. The application was broadly reported in the UK press. It was deemed to be a success.
So this is a success story?
Well,
okay.
It broke every principle and every process the bank had in place. So when the pioneering team finished the project and handed it over to the settlers and the town planners, they were unable to operate the thing that had been built.
Why?
Because the infrastructure they'd chosen, the technology chosen, the languages they'd used to write it, the principles and processes they'd put in place didn't conform to the way that the bank operated. So they had people that didn't understand it, they had processes that couldn't be supported, and they had, effectively, as you hand over the thing that the consumer thinks is brilliant to the team that have to own and then manage it, it broke.
So what you're saying, in order to realize the full benefit of a transformation, you can't do it in silos or only part of your business.
So the theory is, if you want to create a lot of innovation, just let a bunch of innovators go away and innovate stuff, they'll produce something magical, and ta-da, it's all finished. Well, it isn't. That's day one. Day 360 is how you manage it, how you work with the regulator, how you operate it, how you maintain it, all of the things that you need to do as a system of record to prove to an auditor that what's just happened is valid, right? So the reason it broke is because what the organization didn't understand was how the principle of scaling worked.
Okay.
If you are going to let innovators loose in your organization, make sure that they are connected back into the mainstream organization. Because if they are allowed to go and create stuff on their own, they will do just that. The problem is, the process in the organization that's left behind is often not able to sustain it. And it's a real tightrope walk between generating true innovation and being able to actually manage the fallout from that innovation. The fallout in this particular case, the leader of that team left, the leader of the team that was asked to manage and operate left. So two of the most valuable pieces of intellectual property, people, left the business as a result of the failure to be able to implement this after the innovators had created.
So the intention was great.
The intention is fantastic.
But the result was
innovate in an island,
failure.
You've got a lot of sea around you.
Excellent.
And that's not always a great place to be.